The inspiration for this project came from reading Thor Heyerdahl's book The Ra Expeditions, a fabulous voyage tale about crossing the Atlantic in a boat made of reeds. Having recently built an open wooden canoe, I was keen to try my hand at making something similar with reeds harvested from my local river. The main body of the canoe is formed by 3 large bundles of reeds. Armfuls of reeds are laid out on the ground and bound in place with string. Each bundle is fat in the middle and tapers towards the ends, thus forming the bow and the stern of the canoe. The reeds must be handled gently and tied carefully so as not to damage their spongy cords. The reed I'm using here is common clubbrush. The plant is native to Ireland and grows abundantly in slow-flowing rivers, lakes and canals. The stems of the reeds are round and smooth and can grow to a height of at least 3 metres. A cross-section of the stems reveals a spongy tissue, which will be important to my canoe's flotation later on. I harvested these reeds along the banks of the River Barrow. Once cut, they were laid out in the open air to dry, and this process took roughly several weeks. As the reeds dry, they lose a significant amount of weight. The colour changes from grey-green to pale gold, and the papery stems will make a rustling sound when rubbed against each other. For me, the beauty of this project is that it's wholly natural. It's as close to sustainable boat building as you can possibly get. The reeds are a naturally occurring and locally sourced material. Unlike most other vessels, there's absolutely no chemicals used at any stage of the construction. And when the boat has finished its purpose, it'll simply decompose and disappear back into the ground. The only additional materials needed to make this canoe are a ball of string and a knife. Once the 3 bundles are made, they are laid out beside each other and lashed together tightly with string. At this stage, you can really start to see the vessel taking shape. The history of reed boats stretches back into the distant past and the dawn of boat building. Petroglyphs on Egyptian tombs depict the building of reed boats, suggesting a heritage of at least 4,000 years. Wherever reeds grow throughout the world, you're sure to find examples of these vessels. Papyrus is the reed of choice for boat builders across the Mediterranean and Africa. On Lake Titicaca, high in the Andes, totora is the native reed, and it is used not only to build boats but entire floating villages too. Indigenous tribes in North America build canoes from tule reeds, a longer and slightly stronger relative of the common clubbrush. Ireland has its own version of the reed boat in the form of the River Suck flood raft. This was a primitive vessel built by farmers and fishermen who lived near the Shannon Callows. With the main hull now nearing completion, I add on 2 smaller, thinner bundles of reeds, laying them out on each side of the vessel, and these are going to form the gunwales of the canoe. The purpose of these extra bundles is just to help keep me dry when I'm paddling inside the canoe. Once the gunwales are secured, all that's left to do is shape the bow and the stern. Raising the ends will help the canoe ride through the water. I'm not expecting any waves on the river, so I'm really doing this for aesthetic reasons. For a final touch, I'm going to bind the bow and the stern with a cordage made from reeds. Not only is the rope beautiful to look at and to handle, but it's surprisingly strong too. Finally, it's time to take the canoe down to the river and see whether she's going to float. And float she does. The reeds do take on water at first, but eventually they seem to reach a saturation point. So I actually stayed quite dry while I was paddling in her. Overall, I found the reed canoe to be extremely stable and a real joy to paddle. Thor Heyerdahl called his boat Ra after the Egyptian sun god. I named mine Lu in honour of the Celtic sun king.